Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Cheryl Carr, your work doctor, and welcome to the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. I'm hopeful today is a better day for all of us across the United States. We've had some weird weather and circumstances and things going on. I know things are better for us here in Texas, other than groceries. We're still having a lot of problems with food, starting to concern me. But anyway, please, if you're listening to me live, go ahead, like, subscribe, make sure you share if you like what you hear today. And I'll tell you all about what we're going to be talking about today. I think it's very, very important, as I do most of the things I talk about. But make sure you, if you're listening on the rebroadcast, like, subscribe, and share across the board with people that you want to get this information. So let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about the status of women. As you all know, March is Women's History Month. And I think it's really important for us to not just talk about the history of women from suffrage to our status in the workplace, but to actually start out by talking about some of the things that are going on with the pandemic, because women are not doing well as far as how the pandemic has affected us, how it's affecting us financially, mentally, spiritually, and physically. There's a lot going on with that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to reconnect this light, make sure my microphone is broadcasting because I want you to be sure to hear me. And I don't have my broadcast in my face like a lot of people do when they're broadcasting. I don't like that look. And I'm not wearing one either, but I have a very nice blue Yeti that records my sound. I don't even know why I'm talking about that. You don't care. Let's talk about the status of women today and kick off Women's History Month, where I hope that you will apply yourself, if you're a woman, that you'll begin to learn more about who you are in this country, who you are as a woman. Make sure you reaffirm your femininity. Make sure you understand the status of women across the board, not just at work, not just financially, but understand the whole extreme status of women in this country and abroad. I'll be talking about status and data from a multitude of resources because I think it's important to have these conversations and to talk about this. So, what led me to this, besides the fact it's Women's History Month, is I are one. And I hear so much coming at women, telling us how to be a woman, especially in the church. We're always told the type of woman we should be and aspire to. And I'm not criticizing that. But a lot of the information that comes to us is from a masculine standpoint. And it's all about the achievement of getting a ring on your finger, becoming a mom, as if that's the only way a woman can exist. Now, I do want to tell you, I believe that is the highest calling of a woman, to be married, to reproduce, and to live in a married state with a man. I do believe that's your highest calling. It's a role. It's not who you are. When you become a mother, that time period is a brief 15, 16, 17 years, because from 15 to 18, they pretty much are on their own. You just have to guide them the direction they need to go in their lives. But so many women wrap their identity into being a wife and being a mother that when that time, that role ends in their lives, they're lost. They have no other anchor for their existence. So we're going to talk about some of the things that are affecting women right now. I started out by telling you, as far as the pandemic, statistics are showing we as women are suffering, and there's actually an attack on women, is what it's being called. And the reason why is because we're all working from home, kids are being homeschooled, and women who work out of the home before COVID are now doing everything that they've done for so long right there in their home. And they have no breaks. And they're inundated. They're overwhelmed. Women are suffering from addictions such as food, alcohol, and drugs to cope. We're also constantly told we're not measuring up. We're beat over the head with the expectations of being a woman and a mother, and also an employee, or if you're in leadership, being a female today is overwhelming. And I do want to talk about specifics so you don't think I'm just sharing my opinion. There's a lot of research being done because, one, the wage disparity, that gap is closed a lot, but the wage disparity is really lengthening. Women tend to lose their jobs in a layoff first. Women tend to be underpaid in extreme situations, but they do the same work as a man. But for some reason, our society tends to favor male income. And a lot of women work what we call a third market type of job. Their jobs are more in servitude or service industries, and soft skills are all those labels we put on the vital work we do as women. And they're underpaid, undervalued, understudied, and sometimes I believe they're even abusive, the workplace. But I do want to share with you that even as a highly educated woman with years of experience in the workplace, I have found out I've been underpaid on a job where I was the only one with a terminal degree. I was the only one with the most experience. I was the only woman of color on the team, as well as I had the most experience in doing the work that we were doing, but I was the lowest paid. And when I found that out, I had a standoff to make sure my income was brought into alignment. And I actually had to confront that. It wasn't a given that I should be paid just as everyone else is being paid, but I wasn't. So I do want to make sure we don't attribute not being educated or not being in the leadership position doesn't mean you're not discriminated against as a woman. So, status of women in society. Usually women are the primary caretakers of children, usually, and the home, which includes the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping for groceries, the making sure everyone is nurtured and cared for, and so they can be their best selves. That normally that role falls on the woman. But unfortunately, in the need of society for two incomes, women also work outside the home. The sad part is those duties don't go away, just like they do for a man that works outside of the home. He may be able to go outside of the home, come home, relax, wait for dinner. He hasn't had to help the children with their homework. That happens a lot. I'm not saying it's normal across every household. I'm not saying that. I'm saying these are the expectations that are normally put upon a woman versus the expectations of a man. Now, I know I lived in a household where my father cooked. I lived in a household where all my brothers cooked, and they all can cook, I think, better than us girls. So I'm not saying that at all. I'm not making blanket statements. I'm talking about generalities and expectations. And the roles of women have changed because women are, one, becoming more literate, not illiterate, and they are also pursuing higher education and obtaining advanced degrees so that they're able to compete in the workplace on a parallel playing field, even if we're not treated the same. And I do want to say something, and this is my opinion, my professional opinion. I do not believe women are emotionally equipped for the workplace that exists today. And that's why we suffer so much emotionally, mentally in the workplace. And then we somatize, we become physically affected from our stress that we're not built to carry. Now, that's my own personal opinion. Um, but um, I think I'm correct. And I'm pulling up some statistics because the topic of women and discussing women's status seems to produce not great responses, even from women themselves. And I think, again, it goes back to what I said a moment ago. We're tired of being told what we should be like, where we should be, a humdrum song of our status being woe is me. We're so put upon. And that's not how I want to come across. But I do want to share information that should inspire you to check in on yourself, to check in on your status in your workplace, in your home, and in worship. Again, a lot of times what comes at us from the pulpit is very masculinized. It's very hard to find a Titus woman going on, and even in women's ministries. A lot of times we're taught how to be a woman to appeal to a man, not taught how to be a woman solely as a woman. And I hope that makes sense to you guys, because I know what I'm saying is true. And I know that's why a lot of women are attaching themselves to identities that are very visual and please men. And then again, like I said, we either do that or we attach ourselves to roles as mothers and caregivers. And then when that status changes, which it does, because you grow children up to leave. And when they do that, a lot of women become in a crisis and they don't know how to transition to their new role, which is being independent, being interdependent, and being wholly a woman in your feminine energy, living as a woman without the responsibilities of being a caregiver. Many women will then go and attach themselves to something else. They'll get puppies, or they'll find relationships with men that they overfunction and become dominant or pursuing, or leave a role of, they have a crisis. And menopause happens a lot, that women have a crisis of identity because they've left their identity as a woman and enmeshed it into being a mother or a wife. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have some of your identity and associate who you are with those roles, I'm just telling you, when that's where you put all your eggs in a basket, you're going to have a crisis of belief and a crisis of behavior and a crisis of identity when that changes. So the expectations that are put over onto us are so much different. Throughout the world, women have been denied rights to education. Our health care is subpar, merely because most studies and research that's done on medications and pharmaceuticals and modalities of treatment are done on men first and then women. Our political participation is different. And even though we're seeing more women holding office, like right now we have a female vice president, that does not mean that our power accompanies that role. We're seeing assaults on Kamala based on Madam Vice President. Let me be correct in how I describe her, because she's been elected to and deserves that honor. So I apologize for that. But her womanhood is being attacked, and she's being name called for doing the exact same thing a man has done. The exact same thing. But for her, she's being degraded and demeaned and called horrific names, whereas they bypassed it with someone who had been married 3 times, had multiple mistresses and affairs. And I guess because he had the power, they just pushed her down because she was trying to obtain power. So our financial stability, our global health, human rights, and also the homelessness and abject poverty that women get into. And I do want to say, and even in cases where a woman has been married, had the children, and then takes custody of the children, most women do not come out of poverty with divorce. Divorce drives most women into below the poverty line and into dependence on government systems to take care of themselves and their children. Or they have to work. Like the news story we just had, the girl that left her kids in the hotel so she could go to work. And it was really encouraging to see how people tried to find a solution for her without penalizing her. Even though she was arrested, she was released, and I don't believe she'll be charged. I don't believe so. And even if she is, they've raised enough money to get her out of the hotel and hopefully get her child care. But so that's just a general overview. And all through the month, I will be talking about very specific things about being a woman and appealing to women. And we'll be even talking about things such as our sexual health. I have an expert that's going to come on, and she's going to talk to us about our large organ that we only pay attention to when we're giving it away. And that's our vagina. And there's such a mind-body connection for a woman with her vagina. And there's so much disconnect for most women with our organ that controls our hormones, that is our center of pleasure, can be downplayed and only given away. So we're going to talk about that, and hopefully I'll give you guys some good explanation and data. That's the main thing I try to do when I'm talking on my show. It may not be sexy sizzle, but it is definitely factual, good information that you can take, and study further for yourself. And also, you can take it at face value. I have no agenda behind the information I'm sharing other than to help people. That is my heart. That is my calling. That is my ministry. That is all I try to do. So I'm sharing information with a female focus because, again, I are one. And I do want to update us on the status of women, especially because of the effects and affects of the pandemic. Let's talk a little bit about how Americans, this Western culture, sees different expectations of men and women. So, in society, statistics was done, it was a study done to ask what traits or characteristics do you think people in our society value the most? Number one was honesty. And that's what they value most in men. When asked, 33% of the respondents said they value honesty, which again is the number one character trait in society. And physical attractiveness was number one for women at 35% of respondents said being physically attractive. What pressure that is. And I know I go through that. And I've made peace with myself with not leading with how I look, even though I know it matters. So it does matter no matter how much we try. But I have a certain image that I will portray that no matter what is asked of me, I'm going to stay on my boundary and stay on my line about being a woman. Number two, most valued expectation of men was professional and financial success. For women, it was said empathy, nurturing, and kindness. For men, that was 23% made that statement. For women, it was a whole whopping 30% that said empathy, nurturing, and kindness was more valuable for a woman than for a man. The next most valued aspect for or expectation of men was ambition and leadership. For women, it was intelligence. Now, I hope that overcomes. There's two things that are purported in society that are not true. Number one is that men like stupid women, or that a woman has to behave stupid to satisfy a man's ego. That is not true. Men want a woman who's capable. They just don't want a woman who dominates. They want a woman who has interdependence over independence. And again, I'm telling you from statistics and self-study from my book I'm actually writing. So the next thing, 19% said they admire strength and toughness. That's expected of a man. For a woman, this is where our honesty and morality comes into play. And 14% said honesty and morality is what's valued most in women. Hard work and good work ethic for men was number 4. Ambition and leadership was number 5 for women. Physical attractiveness for men fell all the way down to number 6, where it was number 1 for women as an expectation or a value that's the most valued for women. And then professional and financial success fell right under that. Now, what was also very interesting in the expectations that people say in society are valued most in men and women, we were absolutely parallel when it came to loyalty and dependability. I thought that was very interesting that we value those character traits across the board, parallel and evenly, no matter the gender. Loyalty and dependability Very important. And then finally, being family oriented was very low in value with men, where it doesn't even appear on the statistics of women that we value that with them. And I don't understand that. I'm trying to dig more into the study to find out why. And I think it's because the expectation goes back to what I said earlier, is that women are the primary nurturer, caregiver in the home for children and for the husband if you're married. But that's our primary role. Now, those are just a few of the statistics I wanted to share today as we kick off Women's History Month. And I hope that, again, you will like, subscribe, and follow these broadcasts. I hope something I say will help deepen your appreciation for females, for womanhood. And I also want to say emphatically, I have never been a feminist, will never be a feminist. I'm a womanist. So that's quite different than feminist, which can be so radical and so against a woman's natural wiring given to us from God. I also want to say I'm trying to give my perspective as a woman and not masculinize it, dress it up, or change it to suit my masculine listeners. So you're going to get this woman's perspective if you listen to these broadcasts, because we're going to be talking about a woman's emotional state, how to be an emotionally controlled woman, the power of the tongue. We'll be talking about that from a woman's perspective. I won't commingle very much about how a man needs to hear a woman. I'm going to really share from a female perspective the importance of how you communicate and the roles you have to shift into to be an effective communicator across genders, in the workplace, and even your self-talk. Okay. We'll also be talking about financial perspectives. I'll have a financial expert in who's going to talk to us as women about our unique needs as a woman, either earning money or spending money. So look for that throughout this month. And then we're going to talk about our physicality. We're going to talk about our bodies. We're going to talk about our biochemical needs. We're going to talk about medical services and baseline things that you should have done as a woman without fail. So we're going to talk about that. Beyond physical attractiveness, we're really going to talk about nutrition and a woman's unique hormonal needs, a woman's unique vaginal body part needs, for the breasts, for our vaginas, all of those things we will be discussing this month during Women's History. So again, like, subscribe, and share. If you're watching this rebroadcast, feel free to drop me a message, inbox me, especially if you heard something that resonated with you and you'd like more information. Okay? So again, I'm Cheryl Carr, your work doctor. This is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. Like, subscribe, and share. You can go to my YouTube, or you can go to my Dr. Cheryl Facebook page and make sure you turn on those notifications so that you can hear me when I'm live, if you want to. But it's okay if you're watching the rebroadcast, same information. And you can watch it how you feel. Okay? Have a wonderful rest of your week. Welcome to March. Spring is in the air. I'm happy about that. Even though I hope we don't have storms like we had all weekend. Anyway, have a blessed day. Thank you for listening. Bye.